At one point in time, I had it in my mind that I was going to follow in my father's footsteps. And about halfway through my tenure at the University of Virginia, it dawned on me that that just wasn't in my DNA. I needed to go in a different direction. I switched over from pre-med into really more of a commerce orientation. And but flash forward, Daddy and I had done several things together from an investment and business standpoint over the years. But as he approached retirement at the medical university, he was thinking more and more in terms of how can I take what I've done over the last 20 or 30 years at 10 North at the Medical University of South Carolina, and how can I put this out in the community? How can I take it out of a teaching hospital setting and make the number one priority helping kids and families that are in distress? And so he and I started batting this idea around probably in the early 80s, 82, 83, somewhere in there. And we traveled all over the country just looking at what different people were doing in different places. And we, the visits we paid, and these were all associates or friends of Daddy's that we would go to, or just people that we were aware of. And we looked at all different levels of care. We went to Tennessee to visit Peninsula Village. We went to Virginia to visit Little Keswick. Virginia again to visit ABS, Dr. Ron Desart's operation. Boston to visit with Mentor. Daddy had a friend in Florida at Tarpon Springs who had an acute psychiatric hospital. We went down there to visit. Oh, I could go on, but for a year or two, the idea simmered and it developed, and we did thinking and planning, and probably around 84, an introduction was made to us to a group in Nashville, Tennessee, Health Industries of America, which was headed up by a PhD clinical psychologist by the name of Bobby Rouse. And we met with them and made a connection with them and kind of struck a deal with them. I ended up on the payroll. Daddy was still at MUSC. And I was in the development area, traveling mainly mid-Atlantic and Southeast. But the idea was that as this new company developed, that we would take South Carolina and be responsible for development in that area. And it actually started off with adult A&D work. And we identified, we looked at 3 different markets. We actually ended up opening outpatient A&D adult in the Charleston area and in the Aiken, North Augusta area. But we had also met with folks at the commission in Rock Hill. Coincidentally, I say coincidentally, they happened to be located in the old nurses' quarter right there at New Hope, Carolina, where our playing fields are now. But that went for the time being by the wayside, and where we opened up was Charleston and North Augusta. And then one day, I forget where we were coming back from, but we were in an airport with Bobby and one of his key people, and they took us aside and said, sorry, but we're not going to be able to deliver to you guys the deal that we said we would be able to do. They basically reneged on the initial agreement that we had made. And so we went back home and we talked about it and went back and said that's fine, we understand, but we're gonna go ahead and part ways with you. And by the way, we're gonna take South Carolina with us. And so and there couldn't be much argument or debate. They knew full well that was the way that was going to be. So we opened initially in Charleston as the D. Seth Mason Treatment Center and doing adult A&D. Eventually, we were approached by the Continuum of Care here in South Carolina, And they said, there's a group home we've got to close down. And of course, they knew Daddy by reputation, and they felt like we were the people that needed to be there to respond to this. We got in the car and started riding through Berkeley County, and just where can we go where we can quickly open a group home? And riding around in the rural countryside of Berkeley County, we pulled into a small community off the beaten path called New Hope. And as we pulled in, there on the side of the road was a for sale sign, a piece of property of about 12 acres and a house sitting on it. It was a private residence at the time. And so we pulled in, knocked on the door, and owner came to the door. Long story short, we ended up leasing it with an option to purchase. And within 12 months, probably by this time, we were in late 85. We opened a group home that was licensed for 12 beds. And that was it. That was the first step out.
And that was a kids group home?
Yes, it was. Continuum of care, and basically what they did, the focus of the continuum of care were kids, adolescents who, quotes, were falling through the cracks. And at the time, keep in mind that there was no designation of PRTF. The only model you had was group home, and there were minimum standards, but there were no maximum standards. So we said, okay, this is the direction that we're kind of pushed toward, but we can have higher standards, and we can take the more difficult kids. Exactly the terminology that's in our mission statement today. And that's what Dr. Orvin wanted to do from the very start, is take those really challenging cases. And that's where it started. It's a much longer story than that, but that was the beginning.